Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. We've got a fascinating one for you today.
Yeah, this is pretty wild.
We're heading down to Brazil, to this small town called Rolante.
Okay,
Now you might be thinking, what's so special about this Rolante place?
right.
Well, get this, they're using Bitcoin like it's just everyday money.
It's really quite
I
amazing.
mean, we're not talking like a few techie people, early adopters.
Right.
We're talking like the whole town.
Exactly, like their everyday currency.
Like you could walk into a cafe and buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin.
Yeah, or pick up groceries or even
Pay your hospital bill.
pay your hospital bill with Bitcoin. Wild stuff.
It's mind-blowing. And all this is detailed in this document we found, simply titled Pasted Text.
Catchy title, right?
But don't let that fool ya. This is a story about a community that's kind of rewriting the rules of how we think about money.
It really is.
So in this deep dive, we're going to unpack how Rolante pulled this off.
Hmm.
Who are the key players?
Right, what are the challenges?
What can the rest of the world learn from this little town in Brazil?
It's a great question.
So first things first, where even is Rolante? What's the vibe there?
So picture this. It's in southern Brazil, nestled in the Paranhana Valley.
Sounds idyllic.
It is. Very picturesque with rolling hills vineyards.
I'm already picturing myself sipping some local wine.
Oh, you should. They're known for it.
Yeah.
Deep German Brazilian roots. So the kind of traditional feel, but with a really modern twist.
Yeah, like old world charm meets cutting edge tech.
Exactly.
So not exactly the place you'd think of as a Bitcoin hotspot.
Right. You'd think Silicon Valley or some big metropolis, but no, it's Rolante.
And what's even crazier is how many businesses have actually jumped on board this Bitcoin train.
Oh, yeah. The numbers are astounding.
Spill the beans. How many are we talking?
Almost 39% of the town's businesses are accepting Bitcoin.
Hold up, almost 2 out of every 5 businesses.
You got it.
That's not just like a few early adopters. That's like a full-on economic shift.
Absolutely. And it's not just the trendy cafes and tech shops either.
Okay, so who else is in on this?
We're talking pharmacies markets, the local hospital, even the notary office.
Wait a minute. The Jotary office.
Yep, even them.
You know the place with stacks of paperwork and rubber stamps?
The ultimate symbol of bureaucracy.
If they're embracing Bitcoin, that tells me something big is happening here.
It's a huge sign that this crypto economy idea has taken root.
So it's not just about like individual transactions. It's like they're changing the whole system from the ground up.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's like they're rebuilding their community's infrastructure on this decentralized system.
Okay, so this all sounds incredible, but how did this even get started? Did some Bitcoin billionaire just roll into town and say, let's make this a crypto paradise?
I wish. No, it was actually much more organic than that.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
So it all started with these two residents, Ricardo Sokolowski and Camilla Stock.
All right, so Ricardo and Camilla, they're like the Bitcoin heroes of Rolante.
You could say that. They had this vision to turn their town into a thriving crypto economy.
So they're like community organizers with a side of blockchain revolution.
Exactly. And they didn't just talk the talk, they walked the walk.
What do you mean?
They went door to door, talking to businesses, explaining how Bitcoin worked, addressing people's concerns.
I bet there were a lot of raised eyebrows at first.
I'm sure there were, but Ricardo and Camilla were persistent and passionate. They really believed in this.
That's what it takes, right? That belief and that drive to actually make a change.
Absolutely. And they didn't just throw technology at people and expect them to figure it out.
Okay, good, because I can barely set up my Wi-Fi sometimes.
Uh-huh. Well, they understood that education was key.
So they held like Bitcoin 101 classes for the whole town?
Pretty much. They organized workshops, provided hands-on training, made sure everyone felt comfortable with Bitcoin.
Love that. Education, not hype. That's the way to build trust.
Exactly. People needed to understand what Bitcoin was, how it worked, and how it could benefit them directly.
So it wasn't just about businesses accepting Bitcoin. It was about the whole community actually using it right, like making it part of their daily lives.
You got it. They wanted to create a circular Bitcoin economy where money stays local and supports local businesses.
Okay, so paint me a picture.
Yeah.
What does this Bitcoin life actually look like in Rolante?
Right, so let's say you're visiting Rolante and you decide to grab a coffee at this place called Doise Cafe Bistro.
Sounds charming. I'm in.
They have this special Bitcoin coffee on the menu, and you decide to try it.
All right, I'm pulling out my crypto wallet.
You pay with Bitcoin using your phone, and thanks to something called the Lightning Network, the transaction is instant and super cheap.
Okay, hold on. Back up a second. Lightning Network. That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? But it's actually pretty straightforward.
All ears, break it down for me.
So think of the Bitcoin blockchain like a highway. Sometimes it gets congested, transactions can get stuck.
Okay, I've been there. Rush hour traffic is the worst.
The Lightning Network is like an express lane built on top of that highway.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
It allows smaller transactions to zip through almost instantly with minimal fees.
So it's like Bitcoin got a speed boost.
Exactly. And that's crucial for places like Rolante, where they want people using Bitcoin for everyday purchases.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, I don't want to wait an hour for my coffee transaction to go through.
Nobody's got time for that.
Yeah.
So the Lightning Network makes everything smooth and seamless.
So we've got coffee shops, wineries along the Rota das Pipas, which I guess means wine route.
Yep.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah.
Delicious things paid for with Bitcoin.
And even the local hospital is raising Bitcoin donations for a CT scanner.
That's incredible. So it's not just lattes and pastries. It's like Bitcoin is woven into the fabric of this town.
Yeah, it really shows how versatile Bitcoin can be and how it can benefit a community in so many different ways.
And because those transactions are happening locally, the money stays within the community, right? Supporting local businesses, creating a more resilient local economy.
Exactly. It's like a closed loop system.
It's almost like they're building their own little independent financial ecosystem.
And that raises a really interesting question. What happens when this local success story bumps up against the realities of the global Bitcoin landscape?
Right, because we know that Bitcoin ownership globally is super concentrated.
Yeah, it is something like 2% of wallets hold over 90% of all the Bitcoin out there.
That's crazy. So you've got this tiny group controlling the vast majority of Bitcoin, while Rolante is over here building this community-driven model.
It's a stark contrast, and then there's the whole mystery surrounding Satoshi Nakamoto.
Oh yeah, Bitcoin's anonymous creator.
Nobody knows who they are, but they're estimated to hold around 1 million Bitcoins, which have never been touched.
1 million Bitcoins just sitting there. It's like a hidden treasure chest in the digital world.
It's mind-boggling. And it adds to the intrigue and the power dynamics surrounding Bitcoin.
Okay, so back to Rolante.
Yeah.
How does their approach this focus on local circulation fit into this bigger picture? Are they swimming against the tide?
In a way, yes, but they're also proving a point.
Which is?
That Bitcoin can be a tool for distributing wealth, building a more equitable economy, even in the face of those global trends.
So it's not just about using Bitcoin. It's about using it differently with a different set of values.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're showing that there's another way.
I like that, another way.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, could Rolante's success inspire other communities to follow a similar path?
That's what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Can't wait. We'll look at the potential impact of Rolante's experiment, the challenges they face, and what it all means for the future of Bitcoin, and maybe even the future of finance itself.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Buckle up, everyone. So Rolante's doing its thing, showing the world that Bitcoin can be more than just, a speculative asset.
Right.
They're building a whole economy around it.
It's amazing to see.
But can this model really work in the long run?
Mm-hmm.
And could other communities follow in their footsteps? I mean, what does the future hold for this little Bitcoin town?
Well, to answer that, we got to look at the bigger picture,
Sure. Okay, so what's the bigger picture here? What are the things that could make or break Rolante's Bitcoin experiment?
Well, one of the biggest factors is adoption.
Right, like how many people, businesses, governments actually start using Bitcoin?
Exactly. If more people jump on board, demand goes up.
Supply and demand 101.
And that could have a huge impact on Bitcoin's value.
Okay, so we all know Bitcoin's price has been pretty volatile over the years.
Oh, yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, we've seen it skyrocket and then plummet and then skyrocket again.
A roller coaster?
So what happens if Bitcoin suddenly explodes in value, like goes to the moon while Rolante's using it for everyday stuff?
Well, on the one hand, it could be amazing for them.
Right, like suddenly their local economy is booming.
Exactly. But on the other hand, that kind of price volatility could create some serious challenges.
Yeah, I can imagine like trying to budget when the price of a loaf of bread is changing every day.
It'd be a nightmare. So stability is key if Bitcoin is going to be a truly viable currency.
But Bitcoin is known for its wild price swings. So is there any way to like tame the beast? Make it more predictable?
That's where technology comes in. Remember the Lightning Network we talked about earlier?
Yeah, the Bitcoin Express lane.
Exactly. Well, it's not just about speed, it's also about creating a more stable and predictable experience for users.
So the Lightning Network could actually help smooth out those price fluctuations.
It can help, and developers are constantly working on new solutions to make Bitcoin more user-friendly and less volatile.
It's like Bitcoin's in a constant state of evolution.
It is. And then there's the role of governments and regulations.
Oh, yeah. Can't forget about the regulators.
Right now, every country's kind of figuring out their own approach to cryptocurrency.
It's like a global puzzle with each piece a different shape.
And all those pieces are constantly moving. So how governments choose to regulate Bitcoin could have a huge impact on its adoption, its price, its future in general.
It's a wild card that could really shake things up.
No doubt about it.
But in the midst of all this uncertainty, Rolante is providing a really interesting case study.
They really are.
They're showing that Bitcoin can be more than just, a get-rich-quick scheme.
Right.
It can be a tool for empowering communities, building resilience, creating local innovation.
And regardless of what happens to Bitcoin's price, Rolante's focus on education and building a circular economy is a valuable lesson for everyone.
It's like they're not just riding the wave, they're building the surfboard.
That's a great analogy.
So if Rolante keeps thriving, could other communities replicate their success? Could this be the blueprint for a more decentralized future?
It's definitely a possibility. Imagine a world where communities are using Bitcoin to create their own local economies.
Like a network of mini Rolantes popping up everywhere.
It's a cool idea. A world where people have more control over their own finances and communities are more resilient.
It sounds almost utopian.
But we got to be realistic too. There are challenges.
Okay, what kind of challenges are we talking about?
Well, security is a big one. As Bitcoin becomes more popular, it also becomes a bigger target for hackers and scammers.
Yeah, you hear those horror stories about people losing their Bitcoin?
So education is crucial. People need to know how to protect themselves.
Right, like Bitcoin Safety 101.
And then there's the environmental impact of Bitcoin.
Yeah, the energy consumption of mining has been a big concern.
It has, but the good news is there's a lot of work being done to make mining more efficient and to transition to renewable energy.
So it's about using the technology responsibly.
Exactly.
Hmm?
And we also can't forget about the human factor.
What do you mean?
Rolante has this strong sense of community, a willingness to embrace new ideas, but that's not always the case everywhere.
True, every community is different with its own unique challenges and dynamics.
And that's what makes this whole thing so fascinating. There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
It's a story that's still unfolding, full of possibilities and challenges.
Absolutely.
So we've seen how Rolante is shaking things up. We've talked about the potential upsides and downsides of Bitcoin adoption and the things that could shape its future. But now I want to bring it back to our listeners. What does all of this mean for you? How can you make sense of this whole crypto revolution? We'll explore that in the final part of our deep dive. Okay, so we've been to Brazil. We've sipped our Bitcoin coffee. We've seen how Rolante is turning the crypto world upside down.
It's been quite a journey.
But now it's time to get real. What does all of this mean for you listening right now?
Right, like how do we make sense of this whole Rolante experiment in the grand scheme of things?
Exactly. Because let's be honest, Rolante is just one town on a big planet.
It is.
And the future of Bitcoin is still a bit of a mystery, right?
Oh yeah, definitely a lot of unknowns.
So no crystal ball predictions today,
Afraid not.
but maybe some good food for thought.
Absolutely. I think Rolante challenges us to rethink some fundamental things,
Like what?
like how we view money, how we build communities, and how technology can shape our lives.
Those are some big questions.
They are. And I don't think there are easy answers.
But that's okay, right? It's about asking the right questions
yeah.
and exploring the possibilities.
Exactly. So here's what I want you to consider after hearing this story.
Hit me with it.
Could a decentralized currency like Bitcoin actually empower people in ways that traditional systems haven't?
Interesting.
Could it give people more financial freedom, more control over their own lives, especially in places where access to banks is limited?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And could it even change how we define wealth and value in the future?
Whoa, those are some heavy questions. I'm going to need a minute to process all of that.
And that's the point. There's no rush. It's a conversation that we need to keep having.
So we're not saying everyone should run out and buy Bitcoin tomorrow.
No, not at all.
But we are saying that this technology has the potential to disrupt the status quo.
It does.
And it's worth paying attention to, even if you're not a tech whiz or a crypto expert.
Right. This is about more than just Bitcoin. It's about the future of finance, the future of community, even the future of how we interact with the world.
So if our listeners take away just one thing from this deep dive, what would you want it to be?
That's a tough one. But I think it's this. Remember that Rolante is just one example.
Right. It's one possible future.
We don't know if Bitcoin will become the dominant currency of tomorrow.
But we do know that the technology behind it, blockchain technology, has the potential to change everything.
It really does. And that change is already happening.
It's exciting and a little scary all at the same time.
Yeah, like standing at the edge of a new frontier.
Exactly. So stay curious, keep exploring, and who knows, maybe you'll be part of writing the next chapter of this story.
I love that. We're all in this together, figuring it out as we go.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Bitcoin in Brazil.
It's been a pleasure as always.
And to all our listeners out there, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the potential of cryptocurrency to change the world? Share your ideas in the comments, and until next time, keep on diving deep.